They told her love was a luxury she could never afford. But what they didn't know was that she would give up a crown for a single song. In a gilded kingdom, where power was measured in gold and alliances were forged in marriage contracts, lived Princess Annalise. Her world was one of opulent silence, a beautiful cage constructed from marble walls and silent, crushing expectations. Every day was a meticulously crafted performance. Her gowns were chosen for her. Her smiles were practiced in front of a mirror, and her future was already written in a treaty that would unite her kingdom with another. She was promised to a prince she had never met, a man whose name was synonymous with power and wealth, but whose soul was a stranger to her. Annalise was a symbol, a prize, a political pawn. She was anything but a person. One evening, driven by a suffocating loneliness she could no longer bear, Annalise did something she had never done before. She shed her silk gowns and jewels, trading them for the simple, coarse-spun clothes of a common maid. Under the cloak of twilight, with her heart hammering against her ribs, she slipped past the guards through a hidden postern gate and into the bustling, vibrant streets of her own city, a world she'd only ever glimpsed from her balcony. The air, thick with the smell of roasting chestnuts and damp earth, felt intoxicatingly real, and that was when she heard it. A melody so hauntingly beautiful and achingly raw cut through the clamor of the evening crowd. It was a sound that felt like truth itself. A story told not in words, but in the soaring notes of a worn-out lute. Drawn by an invisible thread, Annalise navigated the labyrinth of alleyways until she found its source. There, beneath the gentle, flickering glow of a single street lantern, sat a lone musician. His eyes were closed, lost in the world he was creating with his nimble fingers. He played not for the few coins in his open case, but for the sheer love of the music itself. His name, she would soon learn, was Ken. He didn't see a princess when she stopped to listen. He saw only a girl, her face half hidden in the shadows, her eyes wide with a wonder he had never seen in the weary faces of the city folk. And for Annalise, in that moment, the suffocating weight of her crown vanished. She wasn't Princess Annalise, heir to the throne. She was just a girl, captivated by a song. She stayed until his last note faded into the night, leaving a single gold coin of fortune to Himby for disappearing back into the shadows from which she came. But she couldn't stay away. Night after night, she returned to that same cobblestone corner. Their meetings began with her silent appreciation of his music, but soon, words began to flow as easily as his melodies. He spoke of his dreams to see the world, to share his music, not for fame or fortune, but to connect with the hearts of strangers. He believed music was a universal language that could heal divides and build bridges. He told her stories of the places he hoped to visit, painting vivid pictures of distant shores and towering mountains, all with the humble strings of his lute. Annalise, in turn, found herself opening up in a way she never had before. She spoke not of the palace's splendor, but of its emptiness. She confessed her dream, a simple yet impossible desire. The freedom to choose her own path, to make her own mistakes, to love whom she chose. With Ken, she wasn't a princess defined by her duty. She was just Annie, a young woman with a heart full of hopes and fears. He listened, truly listened, and in his eyes, she saw not reverence for her station, but empathy for her soul. Love, quiet and tender, began to grow between them, a fragile, beautiful flower blooming in the most dangerous of soils. They were from two different worlds, separated by an insurmountable wall of tradition and law, but in their shared moments under the lantern's glow, none of that mattered. The inevitable day arrived like a thunderclap, shattering their secret world. The king, her father, made a grand announcement in the royal court. The formal betrothal ceremony for Princess Annalise and the formidable Prince Alaric was set. The kingdom celebrated the powerful alliance. But for Annalise, the news was a death sentence. Her future, once a distant, abstract dread, was now a looming, inescapable reality. That night, her heart broken, she ran from the palace, not in disguise, but as herself, her tear-streaked face a testament to her despair. She found Ken at their usual spot, and, in a torrent of desperate words, she told him everything. She begged him to run away with her, to leave the kingdom behind and build a new life together, a life where they could be free. But their whispered plans were not meant to be. Before the first light of dawn could break over the city, the heavy tread of armored boots echoed on the cobblestones. The royal guard surrounded them. Ken, bewildered and terrified, was arrested. The charge, read out in a cold, merciless voice, was for bewitching a royal and stealing the heart of a princess. He was dragged away in chains, his lute falling to the ground with a mournful, discordant clatter. Annalise could only watch, helpless and screaming, as the man she loved was taken to the dungeons, his fate sealed by their forbidden love. The day of the betrothal ceremony was a grand, somber affair. Annalise stood on the dais before the entire kingdom, a vision of royalty in white and gold. Prince Alaric at her side. The king beamed. The court applauded, but Annalise's eyes were empty. As the final vows were about to be spoken, a silence fell over the great hall. Then, Annalise did the unthinkable. With a slow, deliberate movement that stunned the assembly into silence, she reached up and removed her heavy, diamond-encrusted crown. She held it out, not as a symbol of power, but as a shackle she was finally casting off. Her voice, though quiet, resonated with unshakable strength. "A crown cannot command a heart," she declared, looking not at the prince or her father, but at the faces of her people. "I was told love was a price I could not pay, but I've learned that a life without it has no value at all. I choose love over power. I choose freedom over a throne." The gasp that swept through the hall was a physical force. She was stripped of her title, disowned, and declared an outcast. She was no longer a princess. But as she walked away from the throne, down the long marble steps and out of the palace gates for the last time, she felt a lightness she had never known. Her royal life was over. And there, waiting for her in the crowded streets, amidst the common people, was Ken. He had been released, a meaningless gesture of mercy from the king now that his daughter had abdicated. His lute was slung over his shoulder, and his eyes were filled with love and admiration that outshone any jewel she had ever worn. He held out his hand. She took it without hesitation. They turned their backs on the kingdom, on the gold, on the crown, and walked away together. They had nothing but the clothes on their backs, and a love that had proven stronger than a kingdom. And for the first time in their lives, they were both truly free. Would you give up everything for love? Let me know in the comments by posting a heart for love or a crown for power. Thanks for watching.